The sharp clink of silverware and soft murmur of elite conversation filled the air at the elegant Meridian Bistro, a place where the wealthy dined without worry, their lives cushioned by power and privilege. At the center table, under the glimmering chandelier, sat Harper Langston, 38 years old, a self-made millionaire in luxury real estate, and a woman whose name made entire boardrooms freeze. Known for her steel demeanor and an ability to command silence with a look, Harper was the type of woman who always stayed in control. That illusion shattered the moment she heard her son's voice rise. "Get that man away from my son. Now." The words cracked like lightning through the dining room. Every head turned toward Harper's table, where her 7-year-old son, Riley, had been banging his head against the tablecloth in the middle of what Harper had come to expect: another meltdown. Riley, diagnosed with severe nonverbal autism, had gone silent nearly 2 years ago. No therapy, no drug, no renowned specialist had changed that. But now he was quiet. Kneeling beside him was a black waiter, tall, composed, his dark eyes full of calm. In his hands, a simple napkin covered in sketched symbols and numbers. Riley was watching him, intently, silently. Harper stood abruptly, anger flaring. "Who gave you permission to touch my son?" she barked. "Ma'am, he's just trying to help," stammered Emmanuel, the maitre d', a bead of sweat rolling down his temple. "That man should not be anywhere near my child," Harper said coldly, her voice slicing through him. The waiter stood slowly, his dignity intact, his face unreadable. "My apologies for the intrusion, Miss Langston," he said evenly. "Your son was engaging in echolally-repeating numbers to self-soothe. I just wrote them down to give him a visual anchor." Harper blinked. How did he know her name? And more importantly, how did he know what echolalia was? Even after thousands of dollars and endless appointments with the top developmental neurologists, Harper barely understood the term. Then came a shock. "Mommy, look." The words were barely audible, but to Harper, they thundered like an avalanche. Riley was pointing to the napkin, his small finger trembling over the numbers. 7, 6, 5, 4. It's a countdown. It calms me down. Gasps rippled across the restaurant. For the first time in nearly 2 years, her son was speaking in full sentences. How did you?" Harper began, but before she could finish, the restaurant manager, George Langley, appeared by her side, stiff and red-faced. "Mr. Elijah, follow me to the back now," George ordered, his voice tight with barely concealed rage. "Ms. Langston, please accept our sincerest apologies. The employee will be disciplined." Something changed in the waiter's eyes. Elijah straightened, undid the buttons on his uniform vest, and handed it to George. "Don't bother," he said. "I quit. Some places don't deserve the best of us." He turned to Riley. "It was an honor to meet you, young genius." Riley reached out and grabbed his hand. "Stay," he whispered. "Please." Harper's breath caught. In 2 years of specialists and silence, no one had reached Riley like this man had in 5 minutes. George cleared his throat. "Sir, your car is outside. Don't make me call security." Elijah nodded, calm, composed. As he passed the table, he slid a business card toward the napkin without a word. Harper scooped it up, hand trembling, hiding in her palm. She watched him disappear through the mirrored doors, shame blooming hot in her chest. Not just because of the public outburst, but because of something deeper she couldn't quite admit. She looked at the card. Dr. Elijah Grant, Ph.D., Behavioral Neuroscience, Specialist in Nonverbal Communication. It was the beginning of something that would change everything. For the next 2 weeks, Harper found herself haunted by that moment. The business card sat on her nightstand, untouched but always visible. Each morning it stared at her like an accusation. "You need to call him," her friend Dr. Nina Bradford insisted one afternoon, standing beside her at the mansion window. Riley sat in the garden, drawing the same countdown sequence over and over. "He hasn't spoken again since that night," Nina added. "Pride won't fix this." "It's not pride," Harper whispered. "It's fear." Nina didn't know the full story, no one did. There was something about the name Elijah Grant that rattled Harper in a way she hadn't felt since her earliest days building Langston properties. Harper opened her laptop that night and began researching. What she found stunned her. Dr. Elijah Grant had graduated from Harvard at 22, earned his doctorate from Stanford at 26, and had written extensively on alternative communication methods for neurodivergent children. But 3 years ago, he vanished from academia after a scandal involving his younger brother, Julian, who had severe autism and died while in the care of an experimental treatment center, New Path Institute. Harper's heart dropped. New Path was one of her company's holdings. This wasn't a coincidence. She suddenly understood Elijah hadn't ended up at the restaurant by accident. He was watching them. Watching her. Was this revenge? Across town, in a modest apartment, Elijah stared at a corkboard full of clippings, charts, and photographs. At the center, a photo of Julian smiling. Surrounding it, documents about New Path, Langston financial reports, and several covert pictures of Riley taken at public charity galas. "I'm almost there, Julian," Elijah whispered. "She'll come to me." "She has to." The phone rang. It was Emmanuel. "She's looking for you. She hired a PI." The boy stopped talking again. Elijah closed his eyes. Part of him wanted to enjoy Harper's suffering, but another part remembered Riley's small fingers wrapped around his, that whisper, "Please." "What are you going to do?" Emmanuel asked. "What I planned from the beginning," Elijah said, "but not the way I thought." 3 days later, in a small cafe far from the press and boardrooms, Harper sat nervously at a corner table. She'd driven herself. No driver. Nobody got it. She needed to do this alone. Elijah walked in, dressed plainly, jeans, and a blue button-up. No pretense. No mask. He approached, but before sitting, he touched a photo of his brother tucked in his wallet, murmuring something like a prayer. "Thank you for coming," Harper said. "I'm not here for you," he replied. "I'm here for Riley." She didn't flinch. "You knew who I was from the beginning." "Yes," he said simply. "The job at the restaurant? No coincidence." "What do you want?" she asked. "To be Riley's private therapist," Elijah said, "with full access to his New Path files, and the right to alter his treatment as I see fit." Harper blinked. "You want me to hand over my son to someone who made him speak?" Elijah finished, his eyes locked onto hers. "Your therapy's theory hurting him," he added. "He's not improving. He's adapting to survive." Something broke in Harper then. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of not knowing. "You have a contract by morning," she said, standing. "But if this is revenge for Julian's death, I will destroy you." Elijah nodded. "Then let's save him. Together." Neither noticed the small tape recorder Elijah turned off onto the table. What began as a confrontation had now become a chess match, and Riley was both king and pawn. 3 months passed. Riley flourished. He spoke, created math puzzles to express emotions, and slept without screaming. At Langston Tower, Harper watched footage of her son smiling, her steel heart softening. But then came a call from Nina. "We need to talk." "Not over the phone." "It's urgent." Harper agreed. While waiting, she pulled out a classified folder from her private safe. Project Nova, an initiative she barely remembered authorizing. Experimental neuroregenerative protocols. Signed by her and Dr. Malcolm Sutter, New Path's director. When Nina arrived, she looked furious. "What do you know about Julian Grant?" Harper looked confused. "That he died during treatment." Nina slid a flash drive across the desk. "No, he was experimented on without consent. This proves it." Harper stood defensive. "I didn't know." But a faint memory of hurriedly signing off on research budgets haunted her. "And the same protocol is being used on Riley," Nina said. "No Harper whispered." Suddenly, her phone rang. The call was from the estate. Elijah locked himself and Riley in the office. "He's broadcasting something across every screen," said the panicked housekeeper. At the mansion, screens lit up. Elijah's face appeared beside Riley's. "Hello, Harper," he said to the camera. "Riley is safe." For the first time, he explained everything. Project Nova. Nanoparticles altering brain chemistry. Risk of irreversible neurological damage. Julian was a victim, Elijah said, voice breaking. But Riley doesn't have to be. The footage switched to new path surveillance, children seizing, doctors panicking, executives Harper's team downplaying the effects. I reversed the protocol in Riley's system, Elijah said. His improvement is recovery from harm. When Harper arrived, cameras still rolling, she burst into the office. Get away from him, she cried. But Riley stood between them. No, Mom. He saved my brain. Elijah stood, offering choice. Deny everything. Swim me. I've already sent the data to the press and the DOJ. Or, join me. Fund treatments. Fix what was broken. Nina stood beside him. You knew. Harper asked, devastated. I stood for the truth, Nina said. Riley gently took Harper's hand. Dr. Elijah said you didn't know. She sank into a chair, surrounded by evidence and failure. It's too late, she whispered. Elijah's voice was steady. It's never too late to do the right thing. He held out his hand not as a rival, but as a partner. And she took it. 3 years later, the Nova Reborn Foundation thrived. Children ran freely in the courtyard. Riley, now 10, taught 2 boys how to turn equations into music. Elijah handed Harper coffee. Hard to believe where we started. I almost destroyed everything, she said softly. You helped rebuild something better, he replied. Inside the foundation's main hall hung a plaque beneath Julian's photo, so no child is silenced again. Harper took the stage. When we fall, life sometimes sends unexpected messengers. Mine was a waiter, and a child who taught me what real strength is. The crowd erupted in applause. Afterward, Riley showed them a picture of 3 people holding hands. Family, he said simply. Harper looked at Elijah. He nodded. Yes, she replied, voice trembling. Family. And under the golden sky, as wind carried the laughter of children, 3 lives once broken were made whole again.